the 28th of November, the weather kind of took a turn on us, and we experienced around 80 mile an hour winds that really picked up the flames and kind of tossed them around in what we call now a firestorm. Hadn't really heard that terminology before, so and it affected everyone.
The funny thing to us that live here about the fire was how fast it came. We all knew early in the day there was a fire, but by 9 o'clock that night there was a crisis and it was coming to you. And that's an entirely different feeling.
I was home that day on November 20th. I stayed home because my ankle was broken, and the smoke throughout the day just kept getting thicker and thicker and thicker, to the point where I would hold a washcloth over my mouth because I was working on my laptop from home, and the smoke, it was like a campfire was in my bedroom.
But I thought, it looks like it's snowing, and I thought it's not cold enough to snow. So I stick my hand out, and it's ash already at 6:30 in the morning falling from the sky, and it's got a reddish orange glow to it, and I thought, what's going on? And you could smell it a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. So I send my little boy to school and go on to work, and by lunchtime you couldn't see 15, 20 feet away from the restaurant.
The day went on, and then the kids came home from school. My wife and my two boys came home from school, and from there it was kind of normal. They were playing video games, blah, blah, blah.
About 7 o'clock, I was vacuuming, and the lights went out for like 1 minute, just only 1 minute. The wind had been blowing really hard.
About 8:30, 9 o'clock that night, I stepped outside, and I could see it burning across the road down the side of the mountain.
All of a sudden, my son, who's 14 years old, and he has Asperger's, he went out from the bedroom to the hallway and looked outside and started to scream and yell there was fire.
My son hollered from downstairs. He had gotten up to get something to drink, and the outline of his blinds were orange. And he turned the blinds to see what it was, and the screens were on fire.
We go from the living room approximately 10, 15 feet down the hallway. Before I could even flip his bedroom light on, I could see it burning within 10 feet of his bedroom window. And I just dropped the bag, and I grabbed his arm, and I was like, we gotta go now. And he's like, well, Mommy, what about this? What about this? And I said, son, it can all be replaced. If we don't make it out, we're not gonna be together. We're not gonna make it at all.
So my 14-year-old son, he was inconsolable. He was screaming, we're gonna die, we're gonna die, we're gonna die. And to be really honest with you, I thought we were too, because 360 around our house was fire, and it was just coming closer and closer.
The whole thing was on fire. I mean, just both sides of the road. There was trees falling everywhere. It was just fire. It was just orange, just like the house. And all of us, we just ran over, the branches, because we knew that we couldn't turn back. There was no way out.
It was probably one of the most traumatic things I've ever been through in my life, to see something spread that quick, to devastate that much in such a short amount of time, because it was within 30 minutes, over half the town was on fire. And you could, as we were evacuating, you could see it. A gust of wind would come, and it would hit a mountain, and it would explode. And then it would jump, and a gust of wind would come, and it would hit the other side and explode.
There's no explanation how we got off that mountain that night. I mean, there's none. Because there were trees down, and fire was, I think this, was it 85 mile per hour winds, I think it was. And fire was blown in on us, and we made it down.
The day of the fire, I had sent an email out. I knew we needed some things in the shelters. We had about 1,500 people in the two shelters that we had set up, one in Gatlinburg, one in Pigeon Forge, at the LeConte Center at the time. And they needed things. Baby diapers were a big thing, wipes, waters, of course, chapstick for the firemen. There was just kind of a call of a lot of different items that folks needed. So I sent emails out asking folks to help us gather some things for the shelters, to help a few folks out. that one email reached Greg Atkins at the Tennessee Hospitality and Tourism Association, TNHTA, and Greg forwarded my email on to his contacts. And through that, an organization had reached out to me called CORE. I had never really heard of CORE, but Children of Restaurant Employees, it was just amazing how it was maybe the day after the fires, when she reached out to me and said that they had some help. Within 3 days of these fires, CORE was here on the ground with grant money, $500 for anyone who lost wages because of the evacuation, or $1,000 if they lost their home. Just an outpouring of help, and the little CORE bears that really turned a bad situation into something that you could see the hope right away.
CORE was, it was definitely a godsend, because at that point, I really didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't.
Without CORE, we would not have made it. I was honestly so shocked. CORE has done more for us than anyone.
All the restaurants, we didn't have any fire damage inside of them. But when you walked through the first time, you'd run your hand, and your hand would turn black. And that's with, the air was off, they were completely sealed up, shut.
Yes.
But the soot still got in. Several of the people in the restaurants who got like the CORE cards and things like that, that's what they used it for. They used it to get cleaning products to clean up their homes. They used it to get new clothing for their kids.
New uniforms to even be able to work.
Uniforms to
wear.
even be able to work, just because everything was done with.
I was really excited, and I was happy that somebody was willing to help us to take a lot of that stress off from not being able to provide for him. Was able to help him have Christmas. And in such hard times, it was really a relief for them to come in such a short time, when we felt like everything was hopeless, for somebody to be there that quick to help us.
To anybody watching, because everybody helped, thank you for helping. On behalf of our town, we appreciate it.